my wife before she became my wife and she was just my girl. I had some issues with dealing with her where the breakup that I went through previous to took me through a lot of different circumstances. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, there was a lot of infidelity. And because of that, those trust issues carried on into so many different other ordeals and miscommunications between she and
Um, Definitely. And
I.
I could not allow phobias to pass by without making mention of the fact that one of my own personal phobias was being left, not just being alone. Like I felt like if I was in control of that, I could handle that. But my own personal phobia was him leaving. Hey, Rita. It was a big, 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 big thing for me. Thinking about considering, and that just really that played a part big time in where we were the first 2 to 3 years of this relationship.
Definitely a lot of miscommunication initially, just because we had so much baggage. There was so much luggage that came with the two of us,
Yeah.
and dealing with those PTSD circumstances, mainly because as I was in a relationship that was long term and I had two children with this person, we started to grow apart. And as I got to know this wonderful young lady who is now my wife, uh, I was not very open to anything other than just keeping it nice and simple. Uh, it was all fun and games. We talked all the time. We enjoyed each other's company. Um, we had great sex, but we were still two broken people in a very unclear circumstance with each other.
Yes. Yes. Unbeknownst even to him, I was much more broken than I was even willing to say. And that caused its own trauma. Like it's so funny how tonight's topic is an acronym within itself, talking about PTSD, which is truly post traumatic stress disorder. But we kind of swung it and made it into an acronym for phobias, trauma,
Soul
soul
ties.
ties, and depression, because each one of these things kind of lead one into the other.
Definitely. All of these things have uh, reared their ugly heads in just about each and every relationship when it's something that is spousal related. You may not go through certain things with your mother or with your siblings and different things, but when it comes to someone that is significant to you, that you lay with, that you confide in, there's so many different things that will rub you wrong or cut you short or have you in your feelings and kind of deter you from really giving a person 100% of you.
That is a part of the trauma. So I actually just recently had a conversation with my husband, and I was sharing with him that trauma for me is not trauma for him. Trauma for us is not trauma for other relationships. So it's funny how, you people talk about traumas, and just the same way that people now throw out the word toxic,
Hmm.
people often throw out the word trauma, but not understanding the magnitude of even that word one and the same. But people come into relationships with their own version of trauma, and like real trauma, you often are not prepared to talk about it.
That is definitely a key point that leads to depression and disappointments and frustration when you're dealing with the person of the love interest. All is fair in love and war. So you look at this person to be as honest and as trustworthy and as loyal and committed to you. And a lot of times when you don't get that in return, it leads to a certain amount of depression because everything is kind of compiled together, and it just gives you it takes your frequency off.
Yeah.
It throws your frequency off, excuse me. But I dealt with depression because of feeling like I was giving so much and not receiving the same amount in return. And that was once we did finally become uh, a item, and we were together, we were dating. I felt like I was making so much more of the uh, sacrifices in the circumstance that we were facing. I took a lot of risk, and I did what I felt that was necessary for us to be in a better place. But I didn't feel like she was willing to do the same. And long, not long, let me not say long, but lo and behold, it wasn't long after that the roles switched, and she was completely stepping up to the plate and knocking them out of the park and holding it down for the both of us. And that was something that was just like incredible for me, because I had never had a partner that was willing to go to bat for me and with me in regards to what it was that we were dealing with as a couple.
I think one of the parts that he missed was that soul tie, right? So we don't really even talk about soul ties anymore, right? And it's a different level of a connection,
Right.
right? But a lot of the times, people get just as connected to negative things as they do positive, right?
Correct. Correct.
He and I both had soul ties to negative things.
Most definitely.
And so some of those risks that he refers to is in reference to things that were negative. They were not necessarily things that I felt that he should have been consisting of. They were not things that I felt like were on a scale extremely necessary for him to consist of, but it was what he was accustomed to doing. And one and the same, some of those things that we consisted of at the beginning of the relationship, it was one and the same. It was things that I was accustomed to consisting of. I just consisted of, and it wasn't for the betterment of either one of us. It was because it was convenient to do what it was that we were doing. It was convenient, and we just found ways to completely bypass um truly dealing with our own stuff while trying to deal with and build a strong foundation for a relationship. And it was very, very, very difficult. Um, Dealing with the phobias, the traumas, the soul ties, and it did eventually for the both of us at separate times. Um, it ended up in depression. And we've both taken turns kind of supporting each other through um, those dark times. But it has not been easy over the years for sure.
Excuse me, guys. I'm back. So I definitely heard what she was saying, and to piggyback off of that, soul ties played a very large part in us being able to establish and kind of keep our bond together. After me coming home from incarceration, um, not long after that, I was baptized. My wife, who had been studying with me, she was just my girlfriend at the time. Um, I was in the back, and I was, putting on my little robe and my little garments and whatnot to go up and be and receive my baptism.
Yeah.
And I looked over across the hall, and she was getting dressed, and she was going to take that dip with me. And we did that in my great grandmother's church.
I just want to say, because I never get to get this kind of stuff off my chest. When we went to get baptized, it was not a part of the plan, y'all. We were what, 20? I was 20, like 5, 26.
I think you were
I was
26 and I
26 and
was,
you were 25.
yeah, I had just turned
So we were
25.
still really young. And um, again, it just wasn't a part of the plan. And we were at church and he said he was going to get baptized. And I always, I did not get baptized until I was 25 years old, 26 years old. And it was because I understood what that meant. I understood that that was a clean slate, a fresh start. I understood the symbolism of being baptized.
And I had this idea that once I got saved, all of my issues was gonna go away. Everything that I had done in the past would give me a new leaf and a new beginning.
And he'd never have any more trouble.
And I wouldn't have any more trouble. I would wear my purple and my gold, which are the colors of royalty. And God was gonna bless me exceedingly abundantly above all that I can imagine, or ask, or think, and which He has.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hell broke loose in my life, literally.
Almost from that very day.
It was on like a pot of neck bones.
So it's funny that I'm making mention of this story because I'll never forget being in the back of the church, right? And we're putting on this robe to get baptized, right?
Yep.
And the missionary at the church had to hold the door, the curtains closed in the back because I had on a thong. I didn't even have on appropriate underwear for church. Like I didn't see myself going to church and taking off my clothes. I just didn't see that. But I just knew that the opportunity presented itself, and I was so spiritually inclined to be obedient in that moment and go ahead and be baptized. I didn't think about how it would affect him, because in that moment I really wasn't thinking about him in getting baptized. I was really thinking about me. And it's so funny how as you grow and you gain understanding, you look back at some of the things that you did, right? And it's like, Jesus Christ, what was I really even thinking?
Yeah, I was like, yo, what you doing? And she's like, I'm gonna get baptized. And I was like,
too, babe.
oh wow.
Yeah.
And it meant so much more to me because it was my great grandmother's church.
Yeah.
And she was a God-fearing woman, and
Yeah.
I knew at that moment I wanted to be a God-fearing man. And with her taking that leap of faith alongside me, I felt like we were being molded together.
Yeah. That us being baptized together, we didn't know that then, but
No.
we definitely know it now.
Now, yeah.
It has played such a monumental role in us being able to sift through our PTSD. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
definitely. We started our walk together.
Yes,
We started our walk,
our spiritual
together.
journey and our growth and understanding in God together, and that has also it's been the plus and the negative, if that's fair enough to say.
Indeed.
It has been the plus and the negative because there's been times when, I might have been a level ahead of where he was. And then there's been times when he's been a level ahead of where I was. And it's very difficult when you're on that journey and you started on that journey with someone. But then you, at some point, there's a deviation in that. So it becomes very, very difficult. And we trenched through that. If it's okay for me to share, we recently got a phone call from someone who really doesn't even know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And they just were kind of speaking what was on their heart. God has a way of doing that. And they were saying how I have prayed him through.
Yeah.
And God gives us all something, right? We all have something. And God gave me the gift of sight. And I knew it a very long time ago, but it took me a while to kind of like accept that. And in the very early stages of our relationship, I had to adapt to praying for my husband on a very different level, because even before he was my husband, I saw him face death 3 times.
Yeah. And immediately after I was baptized, um, like I said, all hell broke loose.
It was real.
There was
It was so real.
some really, really scary situations that I faced on my own, and there were others that we faced together.
Yeah.
We were going to church, and I was riding around with a 40.
Yeah.
A Glock 40,
Taking it
fully
in,
loaded,
look, taking it in the church. Look,
everywhere,
sitting it in his lap.
strapped, and she had a 32 revolver.
Yeah.
And I had a blade, which I always carried, and I got her a blade.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was really hard. It was hard trying to come from what it was that was the norm for me, and her having no idea about any of this. She had come from a different background, and had dated some completely different individuals, they characters. However, they had no type of understanding for what it was that I was dealing with, and she stuck it out with me. And because we were baptized together,
Sharita, you talking like you know a little something.
we came to a very uh, treacherous time between the two of us, because we then got very vindictive towards each other. And that, you talking about depressing, knowing that you're giving a person your all, but they're not seeing you for your worth, and they're not seeing your effort, and they're not giving you credit, was a everyday thing for us. It carried on up until around time where we moved away.
Yeah.
And that was just a little over 2 years, or just about 2 years, about
2 years in.
yeah, about 2 years, and about 20 months. And then we got to a new place with a new start, and Dirty Laundry started coming out.
And then it was a new battle.
Yeah, because then I was in a new setting, and I had new people that didn't know her, but they knew me, and I still had a reputation to uphold. It was a lot, and
it was that was a soul tie.
yeah,
That was him feeling obligated to remain the person that he was years before he was there. When we decided, let me say this, he decided he was moving.
and she said she was coming, and I told her, I was like, you crazy, bro. Like,
he said
whatever.
He was leaving, and
you
I
got
said,
an apartment, you got a car. I done got your car straight. You know what I'm saying? We good.
No.
Hey, listen, we've been having fun. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna go lay low and get my life together. You figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna come back and check on you, and we'll kick it on the weekends.
No.
She was like, nah, bro.
Not happening. So he decided that he was moving, and my response to him was, okay, so where are we going?
Yeah, and just like that, we were up and out of there. Yeah. And not very long, just to speed things up and keep it where it's relevant. I started to see why I saw so much strength in her. I started to see why, and we started growing closer together. And I remember I was at 292.
Yes, up there at that daggone United, baby, come through.
And I was at United Ordained. Shout out to all of my United Ordained family.
United family, we got nothing but love.
We were at a men's meeting, and my pop, Deacon Gordon, and my big bro, Deacon Jerry Ford, and Uncle Frank. There were several people that were there, and Minister Burks was there. And we were having a conversation.
Elder Burks. He was minister then.
Elder Burks. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. And we were having a conversation. The meeting was starting to come to a wrap. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, I feel so heavy. I feel like I want to get this weight off of me. And I said to them then, I said, I got this woman at home, and I feel like I'm ready to do right. I want to do things that I haven't done before. I want to get rid of all of this BS. I want to stop doing what it is that I'm doing, and I want to marry her. I want to make this right. I want to make sense of my life. I want to do something with myself other than die out in the streets like people felt, and even I at one time felt like that was what was going to happen to me. And Elderberg said, "Well, what you doing?" And I said, "You don't want to know what I'm doing." And he was like, we're in the house of the Lord. He said, "Come as you are. Tell me what it is that you're doing." And I said, "I got about uh 2 ounces bagged up, and I got 2 whole ounces on the dresser. And I'm doing whatever I gotta do. I climb trees and shake leaves if I have to. And if I gotta teach Tarzan a lesson or two, I'm willing to go there, because I can't let my kids go without. I can't let my girl go without. She's made a lot of sacrifices for me, and I'm about that. I'm about that life. It don't matter. Whatever I gotta do, I rob you if I got to." And all of the men started praying for me. And man, I don't think my shirt ever been so wet, but I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried some more, and I blowed my nose on my shirt, and they thought that was the craziest thing. And um, because of the soul ties that I had with her, I was able to kind of make an understanding. I went home and I got rid of all of the weed. I went home.
I thought he was losing it.
Yeah, I got dropped off. I got dropped off, and I went home,
like, oh,
and I was like,
what's happening now?
I'm getting rid of all of it. I don't want it. I started flushing weed and
Giving it away.
giving it away. And
like,
I was just everywhere I found it, anything that I found that had something to do with me hustling, I got rid of it. And from that day, I never, not even secondhand, did any exchanges or anything with illegal narcotics.
Yeah,
and so I said to her, I was like, I'm gonna marry you one day. And at that point in time, I still didn't even know that she was still married.
You so petty. You had found that out before we moved. You knew that.
I didn't know that they were not.
You knew.
Resolved or whatever. And we talked about that because we had a really in-depth conversation about that. Right. And then I started understanding a little bit more as to why things were the way they were with her ex as well as my ex. And we just started trying to plant the right seeds and till the ground for that harvest season.
Yeah, for sure. We were going through so much. I look back at it now and it's almost like watching a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, how did we not see that? Oh my gosh, you didn't see that guy coming around the corner. We were going through so much individually. Hey, I'm Polly. That
J baby, what's up, man?
It was difficult for us to see the error in us as a unit. Mm-hmm. And so when he came home and he started getting rid of all of that stuff, I thought he was, like in my mind, I'm thinking the absolute worst. I'm thinking that something has happened and we might have to run. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking the absolute worst and not knowing where he was, what he was thinking, what he was toiling with. And it's so funny because now when I think about it, I'll never forget around the time that he proposed to me. He started acting so weird. I thought this man was like doing drugs. I don't know. It was like, what is wrong with him? Every time I turn around, he's running out of the door.
Yeah, I was being
his
super
hands
secretive.
are super sweaty all the time. Like he kept hiding his phone, and he never was one to hide his phone. So what the heck is wrong with this guy? Like something's really going on. And then he kept inviting all of these people to church. And I was like, they're not coming to church. Like, why are you even inviting these people to this church? Like, they're not coming.
Well, it took a while for her to kind of catch on because
I did not.
a few weeks prior to everything with me giving it all quits and everything, I texted her real random like one day and was like, "What would be, the perfect proposal for you?" And she was like, "I just want it to be real. I want it to be genuine. Um, I want it to be something that my family can partake in.
Yeah.
I want to do it right. I didn't get to have a wedding and blah 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 and this that and the third." And I'm like, I'm gonna need to sell a whole lot of smoke to have a wedding, and I'm probably gonna have to smoke a lot too to have a wedding. And I no longer partake in those things as well, by the glory of God and grace of God. But um, I came to understand that I had a phobia. I had a phobia of starting over. I had a phobia of being alone. And I was dealing with someone that was willing to accept me wholeheartedly throughout my circumstances, my failures, my many attempts, I think is what allowed her to be so patient with me because I never stopped trying.
What was your catchphrase?
Oh, I'm a good man destined to be a great one.
He couldn't have said anything better for me, because I understood that even though at my heart I was a phenomenal woman, in my heart I knew that, but in my actions I was not. But I knew that I was on the path, I was on the road, I was on my way to being that woman, and I needed someone that I could be with to understand that it was a process to get from where you are to where it is that you want to be. And when he said that, he's like, I'm a good man destined to be a great one. And I was like, you are. You are a good man destined to be a great one. But I had no idea that there was all of these different things that he was dealing with and I was dealing with, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah. It was quite the fight. And as she mentioned, I remember one of my first time going to church and really actually like crying out to God. I was telling them, I'm like, man, I can see everything on the other side. I can see the land of milk and honey, but I just don't know how to get over there. And man, Bishop had Bishop,
Oh,
not Elder Myers, Bishop
Stuart?
Stewart, Bishop Stewart, to come and to preach. And I remember him
Rowing
rowing.
that boat, baby.
Lord,
Oh,
this
he was
man
rowing
gave a
that boat.
sermon
Yes, God.
about rowing your boat.
Yes,
And
he gave,
he
yes,
emphasized on how Jesus walked on water.
yes.
And he said that if we are made in the likeness of Christ himself,
Come on now.
that we too can walk on water. So I started saying to myself, I'm like, hold up, I got a job. Like, and this was one of my very first jobs. And, my children had come. My children had come to New York. They were there and they were there to stay for a while. They weren't just there to visit, but it was so many different things that were happening. And as I was evolving as a person, as an individual, he gave this word that was right on time. And he said, you got to row your boat. You got to grab those oars and you got to keep rowing. And even if you can't see clear to the other side, you know that you're going in the right direction because the shore is sure to come. And man, I just felt like I was walking on water. I felt like I was literally doing the unthinkable.
The completely impossible.
And it was the complete opposite of everything that I had ever done in my life.
And I think that was a part of the struggle.
And
That
I didn't want to stop. So because I was able to share that significant time in my life with her, I looked to her as so much more of a light to me. And that is what has continued to keep our bond so tight, because even though she done taken me through some things, and I too have taken her through some things, I'm so grateful for her, and I'm grateful for her patience. I'm grateful for God blessing me with a wife, because the Bible says that he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, but he also obtained favor of the Lord. So my favor gives me the upper hand every time around. Favor ain't fair. Favor ain't never cared about being fair. And what can go wrong if I got the cards stacked in my favor?
So, what goes wrong is when you don't realize that the cards are stacked in your favor. And that's what the PTSD is really all about: recognizing, realizing, understanding, and dealing with your phobias, your traumas, your soul
Mm,
ties, and your depression. Now, I'm just gonna have a very transparent moment with you guys. Just what, last week?
yeah.
Um, you know,
Hey, cousin.
quickly, quickly, after professing something, if that's even fair enough to say,
Yeah.
um, my mind was under attack. And my husband said to me, "Well, babe, what's the matter? What's wrong? What's going on with you?" And before I even thought about it, I said to him, "I'm depressed. I'm battling depression right now. I am feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I want to quit. I'm feeling like I don't want to do this." Before I could even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before
And I'm saying, bro, what are you talking? I'm like,
going
bro,
on.
everything is going good. I'm like, you got money in your pocket. We on to something positive. I'm like, we can't even go nowhere. People were like, hey, how you doing? I saw
Yes,
this, and
great.
we're watching you guys on YouTube. And I'm like,
But
man,
my mind,
exceedingly abundantly above all.
but my mind had me feeling like,
She was losing.
yeah, yeah, I felt like I had the loser's hand, and I had to take a step back and recognize that I had allowed my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right, to overtake my true knowledge, because I knew that I knew that I wasn't defeated. I knew that I wasn't low. I knew that it wasn't a dark place, but it felt dark.
But you didn't identify his many devices, right?
Not at first.
Okay,
I did
okay.
not.
But then
Um,
what happened?
I had to take a step back, and I'm gonna tell you what it was. Someone said something to you about, I don't even remember, and you were like, "Babe, we need to pray," and I was like, "Oh my god."
Shout out Auntie Nicole.
Oh my God, that's it. That's what's
Shout
wrong.
out to those prayer warriors. Shout out to those
Yes.
people that love you even in the midst of your mess.
Yes.
Shout out to my big sis, LaShawn. Shout out to Tanika Cox Worthy. Shout out to Katrina. You feel
Period.
me? My big sis. People like that are our cheerleaders. You know what I'm saying? Some of our biggest fans and supporters, my mother and many others, and even those that are in the shadows, but we know that you are. Shout out to my pops. You feel
Period.
me? I had a very, very um
Enlightening.
enlightening conversation with this man last
Yes.
night, man, at
Yeah.
uh almost 2 a.m. He and I were having a conversation, and he said so many things. I just had to be quiet and listen to him. And he said, I may not be this, and I may not be that. He said, and I may be the perfect example of everything you should not be, but I pray for you every day. I pray for you. I pray for your wife. I pray for your children. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you. I know where I fall short. I know where I go wrong. I know what it is that I deal with. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I do this, I do that. But just because I do that, it doesn't mean that you have to be a victim of what it is that I do. And you don't have to do the same things. So I see you trying to be the complete opposite, and you doing it. And that for me was kind of like that wake up call from Auntie Nicole. And even with that encouraging word to just say, y'all got to pray together. Y'all got to stay in prayer. You got to pray without ceasing. And I'm like,
All right, you're
challenge accepted. You know,
right.
I because now we're even more under attack. Foolishness with the
I
children.
was gonna say things that we can't even see though,
Come on
and and I
now.
and I I never want to get so lost in what AD&D is doing that we forget the fact that we do this for you
That's
guys.
right.
This is so that way you know, when you go into your secret place, some of the things that you may need to start self-reflecting on. Um, but you have to take a step back sometimes and self-evaluate. The conversation that you had with your dad last night, even though he was talking to you, he was letting you in on his conversation of self evaluation.
Come on. Come on.
And that is so, what's magnuberous
All
of,
right.
of a gesture for a parent to allow you into that moment as they pick themselves apart. And so I would always say, God rest his soul, my father died just over 2 years ago in 2018, but I watched my father grow up. And I say that because my father let me in
Mm-hmm.
on his self evaluation.
That's
He
right.
let me in on how he had to deal with himself. He let me in on how he recuperated
Mm-hmm.
from poor decisions.
That's a wonderful point that you made, and in acknowledging how my father has grown, I saw him birthing something new. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It's a conversation I've been waiting to have for years, and it's all in God's time. You can try, you can fight, you can pick and poke all you want, but it's not gonna happen until God ordains it.
Yes.
Everything that he does with a reason and with purpose, and His word cannot return void. So I understand how, even though my pops isn't what it is that I have always wanted him to be, he's still my pops. And I have to be grateful, even in the least way, with that, because it's so many people that don't know their father. And just like my wife, she's lost her father. So I have to be grateful and be faithful, even in
In the
the
least.
least,
Even
so
in the
that,
least.
the greater that's to come, I can know how to possess that. My dad, um, saying what he said to me last night was, in a way, me overcoming some soul ties.
I was just gonna ask you what portion of the PTSD did you feel like your father played in your life?
My dad was a lot of the traumas, because if my dad were there to protect me, I feel like I wouldn't have fallen victim to a lot of things.
And how have you taken that experience and then shifted that towards your children?
I don't let my children out of my sight. As much as I can, I am involved with everything. When I was not there physically, I kissed boo boos over Skype. Anything that they want to do, that they aspire to do, that they are good at, I support them. I root on. I'm their biggest cheerleader. I recently had a conversation with my children about homosexuality, and Michael Swift with the Homosexual Manifesto, which is just an article that I found on YouTube. And I have always felt, to a certain degree, that certain things in imagery stains the brains of people and children, particularly because they're such sponges. However, that's another conversation.
Completely separate topic.
But I shared that information with them, and I said to them, I love you guys, and I love you guys wholeheartedly. When I say I love you, I love you no matter what comes with you. And uh, if ever one of you guys, boy or girl, were to come to me and have a conversation with me and say to me that you are gay. I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept that because I don't want anything to come in between me and my children at any point. I'm going to be your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader all your life. And I made that decision within myself because I've always felt like what I was doing never added up to enough for my own parents, mother and father, because I was raised without the both of them.
And I think that played a part one and the same with your traumas. A lot of the things, in my opinion,
Hmm?
a lot of the things that you felt like were disappointments were not necessarily huge disappointments. Um, People do things and people make mistakes. And a mistake is not the same as a blatant disappointment.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that. Dealing with situations where I wasn't always able to be involved with one of my children, and um, I try my best to be accountable for that. I don't make any excuses for my behaviors or anything else that allowed me to not be there for him. And I now understand that a lot of the things that I went through as a child, it equipped me so that, you know, as I'm maturing and as I've gotten older, I don't have to, be subjected to those things. I'm not a slave to them. The Bible says that your latter days shall be greater than your former. And I believe that. So I'm looking at all of this stuff that I went through that was crazy when I was a kid. And it wasn't like I was poor or, the water was off or the lights and things of that nature. But I went through a lot of different situations that a child shouldn't have had to face. And I wore that as a adult and justified my actions and poor decision making because of it.
And you are not alone in that way. And I try to bring you comfort and understanding that I meet people like you all the time
Yeah.
that wear things that they went through as a child.
And having
It,
forgiven people and
they wear
outgrown,
it.
overcome those
They wear it in
situations.
their personality. They wear it in their character traits.
Hmm.
They wear it in their attitude.
Hmm.
They wear it in the way that they deal with people. They wear it in their speech. They wear it in their outlook on life. They wear it in
Come
so
on,
many different fashions.
come
And
on.
I deal with people like this all the time. And I just thank God because, the bishop told me years ago that you were my first ministry. And I didn't know what she meant by that. But it is because of the patience that I've been able to have with you
That you understand so many
that
of
I
us.
understand so many people and so many different issues that people face. And God has gifted me with a demeanor um, that people are willing to accept that.
Well, let me say something to you, and pardon me, but I just want to say to you that you are a light in so many different ways, and because you have such a compassionate way of doing things, people are drawn to you. Um, that's why I appreciate you so much because even with my rough edges, you were able to understand me. Um, you gave me an opportunity to grow up and mature. A lot of men miss out on love. A lot of men miss out on understanding and forgiveness because they're not willing to change. They're not willing to evolve. And you were patient. You did that for me. And I am ever so ever grateful because it made me understand that people can forgive you. It made me understand the power in forgiveness and the strength in weakness because there are many times that I've left you vulnerable. However, unbeknownst to uh, identify those things in my character, I had to then reevaluate myself and understand how I was really playing myself and how I was playing the game to lose when it came down to what I had on the line. So we have matured together, but you allowed me to get rid of a whole lot of mess in order to try to be the man that I am now. And I uh, want to do whatever I have to be that man to you and our children. So uh, we we uh, we are in a place in our lives where so many things are happening so fast. So many things are happening that we prayed for,
On time.
and yeah, we on
Yeah,
camera,
yeah.
but
Oh gosh.
you know I wipe your tears with my I wipe your tears with my face because when you cry, I cry. But so many things are happening so fast that all I can do is make sure that I govern myself. And after realizing and identifying, killing things at the root. Um, I saw something years ago on the great Bishop T.D. Jakes. He said, "You gotta pluck it at the root."
You got good root.
He said, "But if you got good root," he said,
Yes,
"then
that's fertile
those
ground,
roots
baby.
will
Yes,
spread out
yes.
and they will
They'll run
hold,
deep.
they'll run deep,
Yeah,
and other roots
I never.
and other things will gravitate to it,
Yes,
and it will hold you firm."
firm. Yes, I'll never forget it.
So we are
Yes.
we are in a place in our lives and in our relationship to where now I just try to watch me. I try to govern myself, what I let in, what I put out. Uh, Most importantly, what I illustrate on behalf of my family. Everything starts with me, and I have so many other little ones that are looking up to me, and my wife, who is, here for me to govern, for me
Oversee.
to keep. Yeah, I gotta keep her safe. I gotta keep her guarded. So all of the heartache and disappointments, the depression, the traumas, the phobias that I faced as a young adult, I've had to get in the ring, glove up with, and fight them one by one, individually, after identifying them. And this woman has been right there in my corner, coaching me, keeping me
Covered
covered.
from head to toe,
Yes,
baby.
Lord. In so many different ways, so that I can continue to fight. And now that I understand the importance of what it is that she was doing, but also what it was that I was doing, you know, it's like a threefold cord, can't be
Yes,
broken,
not easily broken.
you know? So I thank God for the heartache. And I hope that not just myself, but we can encourage anyone out there that may be dealing with uh, childhood traumas and
Phobias,
disappointments,
soul ties, and
any of those
depression.
depressing states of mind. Shout out to Russell, most
Yes,
definitely, my good
yes.
friend Russell.
King Russ.
And
That's my God. Let me just take a moment and say this. Um, Depression is very real and it's very subtle. But so many things that we deal with are complex ideas that
mhm,
can be simplified on so many different levels. Depression is simply sadness intensified.
mhm,
Depression is just sadness intensified. But let me explain this. What is sadness?
it's an emotion.
Which is what? Something that you feel.
Feel, yeah, a feeling.
It's a feeling, correct?
Yes,
Which means even though you may feel it, it doesn't mean that you are it.
right.
So just because you feel depressed, it doesn't mean that you are depressed. Just because you feel defeated, it doesn't mean that you are defeated. Just because you feel worthless, it doesn't mean that you are worthless. It means that you feel that way.
Yes.
And if that is how you feel, then you have to take a step back and change how you feel.
That's right. That's right. Emotions are always something that many people fall victims to. And if I can do anything before we wrap it up tonight, I would encourage every single one of you guys to evaluate yourselves every day. Um, good brother Crandall always says that it's a great day to do great things in a great
In
way.
a great way.
Women and men of God. This is what he says. And I've adopted that because when people ask me, how you doing?
What you telling me? It's a great
It's a
day
great day
to
to
do
do
great
great
things
things in a great
in an
way.
even greater way.
Yes. And my newest thing, uh, my bro Sydney, he tells me, I say, how you feel, man? And he say, I'm feeling with my hands in my heart, which means everything is in order. Everything is in its right place where it's supposed to be. So, man, I hope you guys can feel how I feel because I feel I'm ready. I'm charged up. And though this may be the circumstance that I'm in right now, it's not my final destination.
It's
And
not.
everything that I've dealt with prior to, I've overcome that. And if I can do it, then you can do it.
If that's what you want to do,
It's truly just a state of mind. It's truly just something that you have to look at. And if you can't change your position, then change your perspective.
and it'll change your position.
Come on.
I'll say this again. I've already been attacked for it, so I ain't even worried about it no more. There is a shift in the atmosphere. God revealed that to me weeks ago, months ago now. And I've just been quietly, here and there, kind of telling people like, that book that you wanted to write, start now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that t-shirt company you was talking about, start now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, remember you were telling me about that job that you were thinking about going after?
Let's get it.
Do it now. Now is the time to grab a hold of all of those things that you were thinking, all those things that get you really excited, the ones that get you really fluttery in your stomach, and you think about before you go to bed. Now is the time to take full advantage of that, because the shift in your father, the shift in our finances, the shift in all of the people that deal with us,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a part of the shift that I was talking about months ago.
That paradigm shift. That paradigm shift is serious.
What is the paradigm shift, since you drop it, Jules?
You have to identify it first and see how it is that you can change everything that's happening and overcome those generational curses, those soul ties, those disappointments and failures. You're too young to be a failure. You're too blessed to be a failure. And uh, you're too whole to be broken.
Yes.
So, all of these things that I've learned over the years, from this place to that place, from this city to that city, from this group and these individuals, it has inspired me to be the man that I'm becoming. So if you don't know me, get to know me. But we're gonna put it all out here. We're gonna put it all out here. And as I said, there's so many things that are happening. We hope that we can keep you guys interested, that we can keep bringing nothing but love, peace, and Afro Grease every week, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. My wife and I, along with our merchandise and our selling of the hope, dreams, and visions that have been put in our hearts to share with you guys, we're going to be right here. So we want to thank you. And we want to send out all of our love and appreciation for you guys joining us once again. And we will see you all
Next week, Tuesday,
same time,
same
same
place.
place.
Hey, if you have not yet, AD&D is on every social media platform, with the exception of Twitter, because I don't know, I just can't get jiggy with the bird. But anyway, check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and we might just have some other things coming your way as well.
That's right.
I posted a poll to find out what it was that you guys wanted as far as seeing some of those couples that we were talking about come on to the Twice the Advice segment. Of course, Twice the Advice will still be run by AD&D every Tuesday night, but we have our couples coming on to share some of their love and adventures and stories with you. And I wanted to
Don't want to
know,
miss it,
you
man.
don't want to miss it.
Don't want to miss it.
I wanted to know what day of the week were you looking for that to come. So I was thinking maybe Friday or Saturday or whatever day. You guys tell us, because we just want to give you what it is that you're looking for. We're anxious to get that started. I'm assuming that we'll get started with that, with those segments coming probably come September.
Yep.
Got a lot of things going on and a ton of new things coming your way. So listen, guys, stay tuned. Thank you so much for taking the time out to kick it with us tonight. He caught me crying tonight, so y'all don't pick at me if y'all see me. All right, you don't know my
Listen,
life.
and we want you guys to be encouraged, man. Faint not in your well doing. You dig? And when it's all said and done, if you're gonna give them, if they're gonna talk about you, give them something. Stay focused, stay great, stay safe. Right?
Good night, y'all.
Peace.